think he might have had to recuse himself there.
Mark W said, right up there as one of the most boring games I've ever sat through. Both teams' defences were fine, but the spines were anonymous and offered next to nothing in attack, with most of the good field position coming from penalties, this being the key stat in the end. As for Price, I don't think he intended to do any damage, but he very clearly got it wrong and can have no complaints about his punishment.
And then, lastly, the faithful at Tyke Firth. Never in doubt. Huds never looked like scoring against a very good FC defence.
Yeah, it does sound like Hull FC's defence deserves a lot of credit in this game. Will Price got a grade F dangerous throw charge that was referred to the disciplinary tribunal that was heard today. It was a minimum 8-game ban. He's got a 10-game ban. That means he's missing effectively a third of the season for that tackle. I can't say any arguments against that. Can you?
No, I don't think you can. I mean,
the worst spear tackle you've ever seen? Certainly one of.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've seen as bad a one in the last few years in Super League, certainly. I mean, the fact is, if it had been on, there is an argument, if it had been a live TV game, he might have got even more for it, because I think there would have been even more made of it than there was.
More angles as well.
More angles and stuff like that. I mean, the fact that Connor Wynne got more or less straight up probably helped him. And the fact that Connor Wynne went over to Price after he'd been sent off and, shook his hand as no hard feelings, I think that says all you need to know about the fact that actually, even though when it happened, a couple of the Hull players piled in, actually they realised it was a mistake rather than him trying to drive Connor Wynne into the ground. He was trying to do a hard tackle, and he's just completely got it wrong in terms of his position and stuff. And obviously there's an element of it being Wynn's momentum, but then as he's going over, Price has made no attempt to stop him going over and has actually even tried to drive him. Well, now, whether you could make the argument that he realised it's going horribly wrong and he's trying to get him even further than he did to get him on his back, and he's not got him round far enough, I don't know. But
it's hard to make any argument to mitigate any of it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, you can't. What I'm saying is has he tried to try and make it not as bad as it was, and actually by doing that has made it worse than it was?
I'm certain that he never wanted the outcome.
Oh no, I don't think
of the tackle ending up the way it landed. I think only the dirtiest of dirty players could possibly want that, and I don't think any player is that dirty that exists in our professional game nowadays to want the outcome that could have been like paralysis level of seriousness.
Well, one of the usual suspects, I don't know if you saw it on social media just before we started recording, one of the usual suspects was kicking off from the press about it being 8 games and that being excessive, and it's like, well, two things. One, he's got previous because he had a ban,
and that's why it's 8. That's why it's 10, not 8. I think
for exactly the same thing. And two, it completely ignores the fact that the guy could have ended up in a wheelchair, or possibly even worse. And nobody wants that. I always say to people, these guys go out and basically get themselves beaten up for our entertainment. So none of them really would want to do that to each other, but equally mistakes happen, and I think this was just a mistake.
Yeah, it was a bad mistake, and he's suffering the consequences of it. And I think the outcome is the positive outcome is that Wynne isn't seriously injured. That's a positive outcome, and that Will Price will learn from this and is young enough to come back from it.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about any other aspects of this game from the highlights and from the sort of sense of things? It does look like Hull's forwards do give Connor too much time for opponents at some occasions. To try set up with a kick in this game was another example of that. It felt like I know Huddersfield got more meters overall, but it does feel like there's some power in that whole pack again. They seem to have learned to harness the power, and like you say, it's easy for a half-back if your pack's winning week in, week out. Go back to the Warrington game. The reason Lino and I can't remember the other guy's name now. Miller. The reason Lino and Miller looked so good was because they were on the front foot all the time. Yeah.
And the same for Hull. If Hull are on the front foot, then, all jokes aside, Connor is going to absolutely kill you if you give him time.
And even if you don't, he gets given credited try assists for where the ball just happens to hit his legs. With the Cervello try where Lola here made the error, that was funny that he's got credit with a try assist for that one.
Well, you know, somebody's got to assist him.
Yeah. All the tries in this game were off kicks for Hull. So I think that does show Huddersfield still have an okay defence as well, as Hull clearly having a good defence in this game. But yeah, we can only assume the highlights are a fair representation of the game, and you didn't really see much from Huddersfield. Even the try that they got was weak defending at a point where the game was kind of spent at that stage anyway, wasn't it? It was in the last 10 minutes. McQueen's going great guns, but
I did think, you know, you could probably have made an argument for the Cervello try. Maybe, is it an 8-point try? You know, is there another? Because there was the tackle off the ball and the late hit and all that as he's grounded it and stuff like that. But I don't think it would have made a difference. The one thing I did pick out, and this is very, very left field.
Go on.
Is that obviously is Chris McQueen making an argument for him to possibly be considered again for England? Because at the moment, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better second rower in the competition, because everything Huddersfield are doing up front is generally on the back of him. Now,
I think if it was a different head coach, we'd be having a conversation about whether he should be in the side. But I just don't see Wayne picking him.
No, I don't think he will, because let's be honest, Bateman and Farrell are going to be there, and they're two of the best second rowers in the competition, so he's behind them. So is there an argument that he could be in the squad? Maybe, but like you say, I don't think he doesn't strike me as he's Wayne's kind of player.
But, well, anyone whose place of birth is outside of England, I think isn't Wayne's type of player. I think that's the starting point. You have to be exceptional and have everyone else be poor to get in. We're going to see that. Hastings could have been in the side, but not under Wayne. He won't be.
Which, on the positive, also means Blake Austin won't be anywhere near an England shirt as well. So,
yeah. Well, there's more than one reason why for that.
Well, there is that. Yeah.
Someone made a point about Huddersfield not looking like scoring and that sort of stuff. I think there is an argument to say, and I think Stozza made a point as well against someone anyway. I can't remember who said that against good teams they get found out a bit. I think against good defences, I'm not sure where the sort of varied and flamboyant play that you see from Huddersfield in the games where they're winning disappears to in these games, because I remember they looked very indecisive against us, didn't they, for most of the game that they played against us, and I'm guessing there was an element of that in this game too to lead to them not creating very much going forward. So there is a question mark for Watson to address that, but I still think Huddersfield have made huge progress. I think for them to be even in a competing for a top 4 spot, for me the benchmark for them has to be a top 6 spot, not a top 4 spot. So I think they're going well anyway. But yeah, well done to Hull for stopping their momentum.
The thing is as well, I think it's going to take Watson a couple of seasons to get the squad he wants, really. I mean, I know people have said, it's his second season, he's got the players he wants now, but I think there's probably still players there that he might want to move on and have other players in there. So I think maybe next season, once he's gone through another round of recruitment, because let's be honest, they were probably expecting Caesar to be there again this season, so that has probably changed their plans as well.
I don't think they were, because Watson and Caesar definitely didn't see eye to eye. But you're right, Theo Farge,
I think longer term,
when he comes back in, that's the plan, isn't it, anyway?
Yeah. So, but anyway, we shall see. I mean, Huddersfield they're a solid side, but I think that's all they are at the moment.
Yeah, what about Hull? I mean, this is the first back-to-back win of the season so far. It breaks the pattern that I was hoping they would lose this game, win next week in the Cup, and then lose to us. We're going to have to find a new pattern.
Yeah, but maybe they'll win 3 in a row and then lose one, so, Hull are just a funny side, aren't they? I mean, one week they can be absolutely brilliant, and the next week they can be terrible. As a Hull fan, it must be spectacularly frustrating to know that one week you can go out there and you can give Saints or Catalan a game, and then another week you can go out there and capitulate to Cass. You know, it's just like,
yeah,
you never know which Hull is going to turn up.
You kind of know that you're in for a mid-table season because you know you're going to win as many games that you're not expecting to lose ones that you think you might have a good shot in. Yeah.
But again, there I think you can see Hodgson's influence there from Hull in that they are starting to be more consistent. You know, they're not actually way out of games. There were times last season and the season before under Radford where, you know, 1 week they'd be brilliant and then the following week, 15 minutes into the game, you know they're out of the game already, and there's just
you only have to look at some of the Magic weekend games against teams that aren't Agar to see that. Sad news confirmed in the week. Joe Cater is going to miss the rest of the season for Hull FC after re-rupture of his Achilles tendon injury, which also prematurely ended his 2021 season. So that's really sad for young Joe.
It was his first game back as well, wasn't it, from the injury as well? So was it his first game back?
It was.
One of his first, yeah. Really so, you know, and going back to what we were saying about McQueen and England recognition, you know, if he played as well as he can play, and as he was playing early last season, he'd have to be throwing his hat into the ring as a squad player, potentially, or to be around the squad for some of the training sessions as a young player, you know, and then moving forward, forcing his way into the squad, maybe not for this World Cup, but moving forward for future World Cups. But again, this is going to put him on the back foot.
Yeah, he was certainly England Knights kind of level of player, weren't he, after his performances up to that injury. Dr. Bob Phillips got in touch about a question about double movement, and I thought it'd be best to throw it in after we talked about the games because it relates to two of the games we talked about. He said, read double movement in the video ref. I'm assuming the Wakefield try, and he means the Pitts one, I think, wasn't classed as a double movement because he kept his arm locked into his side, unlike Rhino's Ash Hanley, where he extended his arm. And the normal speed review shows it's momentum, not movement, that carries him, the Wakefield player, that is, not the Leeds player. We disagreed on whether Ash Hanley's was a double movement anyway, but I think ultimately the difference between them was there was a clear promotion of the ball for me in the Ash Hanley one, whereas in the Wakefield one, I think it was Pitts, it was more he bounced in rather than he moved his arm out. All of him bounced forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the Wakefield one, there was a movement of the sort of the right side of the body with the ball to make sure that as he was going over, that was going to go over onto the line or over the line. But whereas like you say, the Handy one, there was more a clear, he's reached his arm out to promoting it. Both of them, there was largely an element of momentum in it. But
I think the defender on the Wakefield
Pitts was
one,
a little bit more shrewd about it in that he didn't, you know, make it quite as obvious, I think.
The defenders from Warrington carried him into the in-goal a little bit as well, I thought, whereas Handley, the defender was behind him. I think he'd stopped him, and then he reached out.
In fact, it was was it Matty Crowder?
Oh, that's it.
Crowder that scored it. Yeah, because I've just gone back to my notes for the Wakefield game, and I had written it down about the double movement, but momentum in carrying him forward. Yeah, I mean but equally we've seen ones like that not given in previous seasons, which is slightly baffling. But anyway, that's rugby league for you.
Okay, do you want to take us through the Super League standings after round 6?
Yeah. Now, we must not laugh at this first bit. Super League standings. So St Helens lose their 100% record but stay on top on points difference, with Catalan and Wigan also on 10 points. Huddersfield in 4th and Hull FC in 5th, both on 8 points. Warrington and Salford mid-table with 3 wins from 6. And Wakefield and Hull are both on 4 points. The bottom 3 all on 1 win are Leeds, Castleford and Toulouse, who are off the mark with their first Super League win.
Stat line of the week, I've picked up Jay Field. There was a few over 200 metres, but his peaked the highest. 1 try, 1 try assist, 8 tackles, 290 metres and 3 clean breaks. You get to pick your player of the week now after we've talked about all the games in quite a bit of depth, Lee. So who's your player of the week for round 6?
It's too obvious for me to say Jai Field. I could quite easily say Jai Field, but then be accused of Wigan bias, and you know, probably was him. But I think the player who probably contributed more to his side, I think, was Westerman. I think Westerman for Cass was he was close to being man of the match overall, I think, because everything good that Kosovo did against us came off the back of him.
I thought it was Field or him, depending on who won. Yeah.
Yeah, and that there was that 20